Hi, a very good morning everyone. I am Manikanta, working as a PMO lead on large-scale SAP transformation and release update programs at Accenture. My experience primarily spans risk management, governance, reporting and project delivery. One key realization throughout my journey has been this: the better decisions drive better project outcomes and better decisions come from data. Today's session is focused on how data-driven decision making is transforming project management as a domain from reactive reporting to proactive execution through various insights, KPIs, analytics, and AI-driven intelligence. So let's begin. Be honest with yourself. When your sponsor asked, will we hit the go live date? What did you do first? You checked the schedule, yes? But you already had a number in your head before you opened up any particular tool. That number, that instinct is built from your experience, and experience is valuable. But experience without data is just a sophisticated guess. PMI research tells us that only 58% of organizations report being data mature in their project delivery. That means 42% of teams are running multi-million dollar programs on gut feel, tribal knowledge, and status quo bias. In one of the SAP S4HANA transformation program that I've led, we were 3 sprints in before our burn down charts showed we were already 22% behind schedule. The gut said we are fine. The data said otherwise. We caught it early because someone was watching. And when we don't catch it early, here's what happens. These aren't any hypothetical numbers. The Standish Chaos Report tells us year after year that 2/3 of projects either fail outright, or they deliver late, they deliver over budget, or with a reduced scope. The Edureka research on data-driven decision making frames it simply that the organizations that use data to drive project decisions are 23 times more likely to acquire new customers. And for internal IT, it is 6 times more likely to deliver on time. The cost of gut-driven decisions isn't just financial, it's your credibility, it's your team's morale, your career. Every time you walk into a steering committee with a red rag and say, we are working on it without a data-backed recovery plan, you're spending credibility you don't have. So what does data-driven actually mean? Because I'll tell you right now, it's not what most of you think it is. Well, here's the single biggest misconception in this space. Project managers go to a Power BI training, build a beautiful dashboard with 47 KPIs, and call themselves data-driven. A dashboard is not a decision. A chart is not an insight. Data is just raw material. The transformation happens between what the numbers say and what we do next. Think of it like an X-ray. The X-ray is data. The radiologist reading it, that's insight. The surgeon deciding whether to operate, that's a decision. The patient walking out healthy, well, that's an outcome. Data-driven means your decisions are anchored in evidence, your assumptions are tested against actuals, and your forecasts update in real time. It does not mean more meetings reviewing dashboards, more data for the sake of data, or analysis paralysis. And yet, this is exactly where most PMOs get stuck. Well, let me show you why. I want to challenge you with something uncomfortable. Most PMOs have data. They just don't trust it, use it, or act on it fast enough. Here's what I see in almost every enterprise. 3 failure patterns. Number 1, data silos. Your schedule lives in MS Project, your risks in a SharePoint list, your defects in Jira, your resource data in SAP. None of these talk to each other. So by the time you have manually consolidated everything into a status report, the moment for the decision has already been passed. There's nothing much we could do about it. Number 2 is the vanity metrics. Slides that say 94% tasks are complete. Wow, wonderful. But it also hides the fact that 60% of these tasks are documentation, not functionality. Number three, data without accountability. If no one's responsible for acting on the data, the dashboard is just wallpaper. So now I want to give you the contrarian view. The thing I wish someone told me 5 years ago. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your biggest data problem is not that you don't have enough data. It's that you have too much and you don't know which one matters the most. We generate thousands of data points in a sprint. Task completions, meeting minutes, capacity logs, bug tickets, change requests, and we look at all of it equally. A Formula One pit crew doesn't monitor every single sensor in the car equally. They have three critical gauges: tire degradation, fuel load, and lap delta. Everything else is secondary context. As a project manager, your job is to identify your three gauges, not 47 KPIs, just three. I'll tell you what those are after I give you the framework. Well, this framework I'm about to share is the one I use across every program I run. It has 4 stages and it loops. I call this the DIDO loop. Data to insight, insight to decision, decision to outcome, and then it feeds back into more data. Most project managers only live in the first D and the last O. We collect data and we report outcomes. The middle two, insight and decision, are where the value is created and where most teams are weakest. Data is what happened, and insight is why it happened and what it means. A decision is what you're going to do about it. An outcome is whether it worked. For example, well, data says your velocity dropped 30% in sprint 14. The insight is that 2 senior developers were pulled into BAU support during the sprint. The dependency wasn't flagged in planning. The decision is to implement a BAU shield policy and add a dependency flag to future sprint ceremonies. The outcome? Velocity rebounds to baseline by sprint 16. Without the insight step, you would have probably said the team is underperforming and pushed harder, making things even worse. Well, let's take this loop into real scenarios you face every single day. Most risk registers are a graveyard. 47 risks, all sitting at medium reviewed quarterly, owned by someone who left 6 months ago. Data-driven risk management looks completely different. It's predictive, not reactive. In an ERP transformation, our risk model tracked 3 leading indicators: change request velocity, escalation frequency, and resource availability index. When all 3 degraded simultaneously, we had a 78% probability of a milestone slip within the next 2 weeks. Not a feeling, a probability. We use that signal to preemptively escalate, resequence the cutover plan, and bring in SME support before the slide even happened. The entire team asked, "How did you know?" I said, "I didn't know. The data knew. I just trusted it." In agile programs, track escaped defect rate and deployment frequency. Both are leading indicators of a release risk. If your escaped defect rate is climbing while your deployment frequency stays flat, your release quality is degrading in real time. Now, from risk, let's move to the hardest PM challenge: people and capacity. Raise your hand if you've ever been told a resource is 100% available and then discovered they were also running 3 other projects doing BAU support and onboarding a new team member. Right? Well, resource data lies, not because people are dishonest, but because allocation is declared at the start of the project and has been rarely updated. Data-driven resource management means real capacity, not planned capacity. Track actual logged hours against allocated hours weekly. If someone is allocated 80% but logging 110%, you have a problem brewing there. Coming to schedule forecasting, instead of looking at a person complete, look at earned value. SPI, Schedule Performance Index, that tells you how much schedule you are earning per unit of time spent. Below 0. 0.9 for 2 consecutive reporting periods, you will not hit your deadline without intervention. In one of my SAP Go Lives, SPI hit 0.82 in week 6. We adjusted scope in week 7, descoping 3 non-critical reports to post Go Live. We hit the date. Well, that was a data decision, not a gut decision. Now let's get specific. Which metrics should you actually be tracking? Right? This is the most important distinction in data-driven project management. And most teams get it backwards. Lagging indicators tell you what already happened. Defects in UAT, budget overspent, schedule delayed. By the time you see all these, the damage is already done. Leading indicators signal what's about to happen. They give you time to act. For Agile, it is velocity trend. Not just the sprint's velocity, but the 3 sprint moving average. A velocity that drops 15% across 3 sprints is a leading indicator of teams' health issues. For waterfall hybrid, change request rate. Projects with more than 8 to 10 change requests per month in execution phase almost always slip. The CRs are the early warning signals. For quality, it is defect injection rate. If your team is writing 200 user stories per sprint but injecting only 40 plus defects, you have a quality debt building up that will explode in UAT. For scope, requirements volatility index. If your requirements are moving in execution, your estimates are fiction. Know your leading indicators. Watch them weekly. Act on them immediately. Let me show you what this looks like in a real dashboard. This is the kind of dashboard I build for every program I run. Not 47 metrics, but just 6 of them. Sprint Health Index, which is a composite score of velocity trend, defect rate, and team's availability. One number, green, amber, or red. Risk pulse, number of open high severity risks, time since last mitigation update, and change request velocity. 3 subsignals feeding one indicator. Delivery confidence, earned value plus burn down trajectory plus milestone completion rate. Gives you a forecast, not just a status. Stakeholder alignment, number of open escalations, days since last steering committee decision, and decision backlog age. This one is underrated. Most delays aren't technical, they are political. Budget burn versus value burn. Are you spending money and getting value, or spending money and accumulating technical debt? And lastly, team pulse. Voluntary overtime hours and unplanned PTO. Both are leading indicators of team burnout, and burnout is a silent project killer. Build this in a Power BI dashboard. Automate the data feeds from Jira, SAP, and your time tracking systems. Spend your time on insights, not on compiling the report. But data doesn't always tell a success story. Let me tell you about a failure story as well. Dated back to 2019, a global retail company handling a $40 million ERP transformation project, 18 months in scope. Well, they had dashboards, beautiful dashboards, color coded, executive ready, printed every Friday. Well, what they didn't have is a data culture. The dashboards showed amber for 11 consecutive weeks before anyone escalated. Why? Because no one was accountable for acting on the amber. The steering committee saw amber and assumed that the team would self-correct. The team saw amber and assumed the committee was okay with it. The project finally went red in month 14. With 4 months left and 60% of the scope undelivered. They burned another $18 million trying to recover. It never fully recovered. The data was there. The insight was also there. The decision was missing. Data without a decision culture is just expensive decoration. Now let me show you what the other side looks like. Let me try and paint two pictures. Same project, same team, different operating model. In the traditional PM model, the project manager is the hub of all information. Data flows up to them. They filter it, summarize it, and present a narrative to leadership. Decisions happen in steering committees once a month. By the time a risk gets actioned, it's already an issue. In the data-driven model, the data is visible to everyone in real time. The PM doesn't carry the data. They interpret it. Decisions happen at the team level, informed by dashboards. Escalations are triggered by signals, not by gut feel or political pressure. The role shifts from reporter to analyst, from historian to forecaster, from responder to anticipator. PMI's Pulse of the Profession says organizations with high data maturity complete 63% more projects successfully, not 10% more, 63%. That is a significant number. That's not marginal improvement. That's a different league altogether. And that brings me to the most important evolution I want to leave you all with. The project manager of the past was a scheduler, a risk logger, a meeting facilitator. The project manager of the future is a decision architect. A decision architect doesn't just deliver projects. They design the decision-making environment around the project. They decide what data gets collected, how it gets interpreted, who is accountable for acting on it, and how fast decisions must be made. This is the highest value version of our role. And the organizations that recognize this and build PMs who operate this way will definitely win. You don't need a data science degree for this. You need curiosity, discipline, and the courage to say that we are not making this call on gut feel. Let's look at the data. So how do you start? Right now, tomorrow morning. I'm not going to leave you with inspiration and no action. Here is a 90-day roadmap. Days 1 to 30, do an audit. What data does your project already generate? Where does it live? Is it trusted? Identify your 3 leading indicators, the ones that matter the most for your current program. Days 31 to 60, connect, build or improve one dashboard, not 47 metric monster. One view with your 3 indicators, visible to the full team, updated at minimum weekly. Daily, better. Days 61 to 90, build a culture, hold a data stand-up. 10 minutes every Friday, where the team reviews the dashboard together and makes one explicit decision based on what they see. That last one is the hardest and the most important. It takes the data off the screen and into the room. You don't transform into a data-driven PM overnight. You build the habit, one decision at a time. Let me leave you with one line. Projects don't fail because of bad data. They fail because of ignored data. The data was there. The signal was there. The dashboard showed amber for 11 weeks straight. The question you need to answer for your program right now is, when the data speaks, Does your team listen? Before you leave this room, I want you to do one thing. Take out your phone or a piece of paper. Write down what are the 3 leading indicators I will track starting this week. Not what you should track, not what your PMO template says to track. The 3 signals that, if they move in the wrong direction, tell you your project is in trouble. Write them down, share them with your team. Make someone accountable for each one. Review them weekly. Well, that's your commitment. Not to a data-driven decision making as a concept, to 3 numbers this week. Well, that is all from my end. Thank you so much.